Good.
So hello everyone. My name is Hanna Bakunova, and I'm affiliated with Uppsala University, on behalf of which I organize the events, the series of international seminars or talks in Romani studies, different topics, supported by Uppsala Forum and the Roma Foundation is our major partner, and Stefan Liderich is the representative of the Roma Foundation in Zurich, Switzerland. And currently, I am also teaching at the University of Alberta in Edmonton. So we have Romani NGOs plus academic institutions involved. And today, I am extremely happy to invite for talk Justyna Matkowska, who is the third generation of the Romani survivors. And particularly, I'm happy that we have Romani women and also academic and also activists who can introduce this topic in such a very important week of their commemoration and Holocaust Remembrance Day. And Justyna defended her PhD at the University of Wrocław, and currently she's teaching in New York. And you can read her biography, but I just wanted to mention that she's the recipient of many prestigious fellowships, included one at the United States Holocaust Memorial Museum. And Justyna very actively involved into discussion of this topic. Recently, she was also the presenter for the Shoah Foundation, which finally introduced the topic of the persecution of Roma and Sinti. And Justyna's field of work is the commemoration, cultural memory, race and ethnicity. But today, she will talk from participation of different commemoration and being the third generation of the Romani survivors, and also as an academic, because Justyna is actively teaching and involved into research, which is very rare, again, combination, not only for Romani people, but for everyone to be involved into academic activities and also activism. And Justyna, floor is yours.
Thank you very much. Good evening for people in Europe, and good afternoon to my students who join from New York. And it's morning here. It's 8 in the morning in Hawaii, so we are all in different time zones. And thank you very much for the warm welcome, and I appreciate the invitation and also very kind introduction, Hannah. It's a pleasure to be here, and I titled my presentation "The Struggle for Recognition and Continuing the Legacies of Roma and Sinti Holocaust Survivors." And I will share my personal perspective as a third-generation survivor. I'm a Romani scholar and historian with research focus on Roma and Sinti Holocaust. As the title of my presentation suggests, I'm the third-generation Holocaust survivor, meaning both of my grandparents were Holocaust survivors. And my great-grandfather and most of his family were murdered in Auschwitz-Birkenau. And my second great-grandfather was killed by the Nazis in the forest during the anti-Roma pogrom. My my great grandmother survived the war, and she is here in the middle. That's her. She was very much traditional Romani woman, and she survived because she was at the labor camp. And this is why the research on the persecution of Roma and Sinti during the Nazi era is so deeply important to me. And it also fuels my commitment to educating others about the Romani genocide. I was born in Poland, and I come from the Polish Carpathian Roma family. Polish Carpathian Roma were a diverse community residing in the multi-ethnic Carpathian borderland before World War II. Their presence in the southern and southeastern regions of Poland dates back to the 15th century, and between 15th and 17th centuries, during the period of Volhynian migrations, they appear in the Carpathian region. And during that time, Roma began to adopt the sedentary and semi-settled lifestyle. Historically, Carpathian Roma families often lived nomadic or semi-nomadic lives, frequently settling near shepherds and farmers. They provided blacksmith services and engaged in the music activities. However, in the late 18th century, some of the families began to establish permanent settlements, marking a significant shift that led to differences between the nomadic Roma and Carpathian Roma. Before World War II, Carpathian Roma families typically own small cottages with plots of land and earn their livings through different trades. They were incredibly skilled and work as blacksmiths. They also broke stones for the road constructions, and they perform music at various events, including entertaining people and playing at the peasants' weddings. The fate of Carpathian Roma during the Nazi rule mirrored that of other Roma groups, and it's characterized by severe and discriminatory policies in occupied Poland. They faced imprisonment in the ghettos, primarily in Kraków, Nowy Sącz, and Limanowa. They also faced forced labor, arrest, transports to Auschwitz, and mass executions. And over 23,000 Roma and Sinti, including a known number of Polish Carpathian Roma, tragically lost their lives in Auschwitz. And records from Auschwitz-Birkenau Museum indicate that Carpathian Roma prisoners were transported to Auschwitz from southeastern regions of occupied Poland as a part of the Nazi arrest operations between 1941 and 1943. Prior to the establishment of the Romani family camp, several hundred Roma individuals have already arrived at Auschwitz. The larger groups of Carpathian Roma arrived at Auschwitz on 28 January and 16 February of 1943, and Roma were transported alongside Polish people, Jews, and others. Unfortunately, the majority of Roma from both transports were murdered in Auschwitz, including my family members and many Carpathian Roma families, as confirmed by the prisoner list of Auschwitz. The Nazis' actions against the Roma led to the death of majority of the Carpathian Roma population. Those who managed to avoid arrest, along with other survivors, often sought refuge in the forest. Many Roma, Roma orphans, in particular, struggled to survive and frequently joined the resistance movement. And that happened to my grandfather's brothers who were in the partisan movement. After the war, larger groups of Roma, including my family, who had survived Nazi persecutions, mostly the orphans and children, were forcibly relocated in 1947 to so-called ziemie odzyskane, meaning recovered territories, which were the former German territories that became part of Poland in 1945. This relocation occurred alongside the displacements of Ukrainian, Lemkos, and Boykos from southeastern Poland. The operation was known as Akcja Wisła. In English, it's Operation Wisula, and it was carried out by the Polish People's Republic. Roma settled in various regions, including Silesia, Lower Silesia, Opole Voivodeship, Pomerania, and parts of East Prussia. Additionally, other groups and families migrated from the Carpathian region to cities like Kraków and Nowa Huta, and as well as other areas of Poland. Upon a relocation, Roma were typically assigned small, often damaged apartments, or they were offered an option to run small farms in the rural areas. The communist government mandated that all Roma individuals must work and that their children attend school. And despite facing significant challenges, Roma worked tirelessly in some of the most demanding and labor-intensive jobs. And this is the story of my family. My grandparents were forcibly relocated to the Lower Silesia region. And this is my grandmother. And my grandfather worked at the local factory. And grandmother was raising 6 children. But unfortunately, she died when she was 35. And I'm sorry, I'm crying again, but it's very, very emotional for me. So many Roma in my family were elected to share their wartime experience. And this was true for those who resettled in the post-war Western Poland, including Lower Silesia, Silesia, and Opole Voivodeship, and other areas. It also applied to Roma who later moved to Kraków and Nowa Huta for economic reasons, as they work in the factories, as well as those who remain in the Carpathian region. The limited number of Roma who survived Nazi persecution, coupled with the fact that many were uneducated, unfortunately, they were also fearful of communism and facing poverty under the communist regime. And that has led to a significant lack of knowledge about their experiences. Furthermore, widespread anti-Roma sentiments has further obscured their suffering. As a result, the persecution of Carpathian Roma during the war remain largely underrepresented and requires greater awareness. Genocide of Romani people was systematic in the German Reich and other occupied territories, as well as in some collaborating states, and reached most European countries by the end of World War II. And the consequences of this crime impacted many generations, including my generation. Nazi Germany exterminated the Roma and Sinti people based on the racial ground, as same as Jews. And like Jews, Roma and Sinti were declared as an alien race in 1945 by legislation based on the Nuremberg laws. And Roma and Sinti were subjected to forced sterilizations under the 1933 Nazi implemented law for the prevention of offspring with the hereditary diseases, and Roma were also subjected to research at the Berlin Institute for Research and Racial Hygiene and Population Biology, headed by Dr. Robert Ritter. The pseudoscientific research aimed to classify Romani people and explore alleged link between ethnicity and crime. Reich Criminal Police, together with scientists at the Berlin Racial Hygiene Research Unit, carried out registration of all Sinti and Roma in Nazi Germany, creating the ideological and practical basis for this genocide. And Roma were forced out of social life and their professions. From 1935, dozens of detention camps were set up just for Sinti and Roma in Germany and annexed countries. And they were isolated from the rest of population and also sent to the forced labor camps. Already in 1938, hundreds of Roma men were deported to concentration camps. And accurate data on the Romani population and also the scale of genocide is very scarce, and it's very challenging to understand the extent of the Nazi crime. But it's estimated that approximately 500,000 Roma and Sinti fell victims to the Nazis, and some experts like Donald Kenrick regards this figure as symbolic rather than precise. And Roma and Sinti faced persecution in the ghettos, concentration camps, extermination camps, and mass executions throughout Nazi-occupied territories. The bodies were often buried in the forest and the countryside, and after the war, remains were exhumed and placed in the local cemeteries and mass graves. There is more than 200 memorials across Europe that commemorate the murdered Roma and Sinti, including 36 in Poland alone. Many mass graves of Roma are unmarked until today. And this is a memorial of 22 Roma and 2 unborn children that were murdered on May 1942 in Tarnogród. It was recently uncovered as a construction site. And in the summer of 1920, during renovation and construction works at the market square in Tarnogrud, human remains were found, and the Institute of National Remembrance determined that the extracted bones, body fragments, and personal items indicate that that was a group of Roma people murdered by the Nazis in 1942. The IPN established that exhumations uncover remains belonging to 22 Roma people, 8 men, 3 women, and 3 likely women, and 8 children, as well as 2 unborn children, which means that 2 women were pregnant at the time of execution. In recent decades, there has been a significant increase in the efforts of Roma and Sinti, mostly activists and organizations and also scholars, to commemorate the Nazi genocide. Unfortunately, long after World War II, Roma and Sinti were still not recognized as the victims of the Nazism, leading to their persecution being referred as the forgotten genocide. And it should be emphasized that during the post-war trials, the persecution and genocide of Romani people were only mentioned briefly. Despite many attempts by survivors to seek justice, most perpetrators were unpunished. And it took decades for the public and other governments to recognize this genocide. The struggle for official recognition of Roma began in 1960s with significant contributions from German Sinti and Roma activists. They dedicated years to commemorating the victims of the genocide, and notable efforts included the rally in 1979 at the Bergen-Belsen former concentration camp and the hunger protest in 1980 at the Dachau camp, former concentration camp, organized by Romani Rosse, the leader of Romani community, along with a group of activists, including former prisoners. In September 1981, 18 German Sinti occupied the basement of the archives at the University of Tübingen, demanding the transfer of Nazi files stored there to the federal archives. Some documents were transferred after a few hours, but tragically, around 20,000 German files related to the Nazi genocide against the Roma and Sinti remain lost to this day. And those actions aim to draw public and media attention to the Nazi genocide of Roma and Sinti. As a result of these efforts, on March 17, 1982, the Federal Republic of Germany officially recognized the National Socialist crimes against Roma and Sinti as racially motivated. And finally, after years of struggle to acknowledge and commemorate the Roma and Sinti victims of the Nazi genocide, August 2nd was designated as International Roma Holocaust Memorial Day. This day holds significant symbol as it marks the tragic events of August 2nd, 1944, when Roma and Sinti imprisoned in the Romani family camp were murdered and Romani family camp was liquidated. In recognition, the Polish Parliament officially established August 2nd as the Roma and Sinti Genocide Memorial Day in 2011. After 4 years, in 2015, the European Parliament also recognized August 2nd as the Roma Holocaust Memorial Day. Moreover, on May 16, Romani communities across Europe commemorate the Romani uprising in Auschwitz, and that day is designated as Roma Resistance Day. And our struggle for recognition remains, but not only that. Like in the Nazi time, we struggle with discrimination, anti-Roma prejudice, and racial segregation. Romani organizations are actively fighting discrimination and are raising awareness of Romani culture, the identity, and the Romani genocide. Through their projects, organizations also try to highlight the problems and challenges faced by Romani community, as well as change and positively influence the Romani representation in media and the public. And we are gradually taking over our discourse of Romani studies. We can ask why the Romani genocide is called the forgotten genocide and why Roma and Sinti still struggle for recognition. Who failed? And as the Nazi Germans and their collaborators murdered over 500,000 of Roma and Sinti, there were not many survivors left. Even after the war ended, Romani people found themselves in the dire situation, still suffering from anti-Roma prejudice, negative stereotypes, and multi-level discrimination and marginalization. Unlike Jews, Roma did not receive Holocaust compensations until the late 1990s, and by that time my great-grandmother and grandparents have passed away, as many other survivors. Institutions advocating for social justice and the Holocaust compensations and Holocaust institutions also failed to bring attention to the Roma and Sinti. Researchers, scholars, academic, and universities failed us too. The people and institutions responsible for research and justice ignored the tragic fate of Roma and Sinti for decades, which still often continues. And these consequences are irreversible. After World War II ended, the killing stopped, but Roma and Romani survivors were left by themselves and they were left with nothing. Many of them lost entire families, and society often held bias against Romani people and remain hostile. In many countries, discriminatory policies like criminalization and segregation continued, and there was no organized international aid for Roma and Sinti victims. And Roma and Sinti did not get recognition as the Holocaust victims and commemoration for their loved ones, murdered by the Nazis and their collaborators for decades after the war. Even today, the Holocaust of Roma and Sinti is still not recognized enough in many countries, and it's not taught at the schools and many universities. Persecuted Roma and Sinti were left with physical scars, psychological scars, emotional trauma, and suffering on individuals as their family members, and there was nothing to help heal them. And as you see, as a third generation, I also carry this trauma, this intergenerational trauma, and I'm trying to bring more attention. I'm trying to teach about the Romani genocide, but it's really, really hard, even for me as educated Roma. And that's my presentation. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Justina. And I think there will be a lot of questions. And if someone has a question, please raise hand. And maybe I will start because I have a lot of questions. And I actually am curious how much the persecution and extermination of Roma was discussed in your family, from where you possessed the knowledge in the beginning. If the older generations discussed that in the family, I'm more curious about personal account and your family discussion.
Oh, thank you, Hannah. So it was not very much discussed in my home. We knew that my great grandmother was in the labor camp because she spoke about it, but not very much. We also knew about the involvement in the resistance movement, but it was also not discussed publicly because members of the Polish resistance movement were afraid because of the communist government regime. So it was discussed only among the families and people were very careful about what they are saying to others. And I just want to explain that participation in the resistance movement was very much not. It was perceived as very negative by the communist government, and many members were killed or persecuted right after war. And so in my family, we did not talk about that. We knew that most of our family members were killed in Auschwitz, but we did not know the whole scale. We knew that the villages were wiped out and there were only children left, but we didn't know how much it actually what was the scale of this genocide. Actually, I'm learning more since Dr. Carola Finks asked me to write the lemma for encyclopedia, and I work through the Christmas break on the text on Carpathian Roma, and I was checking the transports to Auschwitz, and that gave me a really good perspective on the numbers, which are of course underrepresented in research, but I was shocked. I did the spreadsheet and I was just writing down the names and everything. And then when I counted it, it it was incredible to learn how many Roma from my group were actually killed in Auschwitz. So it's a very tragic fate, but it was not discussed that well. And I don't think Roma, especially the children who survived, they knew the fate of other Roma. The memory we have, it's very scarred because many survivors were just children, and they don't even remember their parents well. So they might remember the action when the Nazis came and arrested the mother, the father, the uncles, grandparents, but they don't know. They remember the uniforms of the Nazis, but they don't. That's what they remember. Even the language skills were often lost in my family because of that.
Just to clarify, there was certain point in your family when this discussion started, right? I'm just curious, what was the point? When exactly it started? What was the trigger why this discussion started? And then Carola, I.
So no, they talk about it by themselves, but for me, as a third generation, I've learned that from my mother, because at the time that I was born, my grandmother was already lost. My grandmother also was dead. So the only person left was my grandfather, but he had already cancer. So it was pretty much, I've learned everything from my mother and from my aunties, and they've learned that from their parents and grandparents. So it was generational, but there are many things that I would like to learn right now, and I don't know. I have one auntie left who is telling me many like stories from that period, but it's definitely not enough knowledge that we have right now, and not many survivors left to tell the story.
Thank you. Carola?
Yes, well, first I want to say that I really admire the work Justina does, because she's in this very complex whole of lack of knowledge. Well, on the one hand, there is a lot of richness of knowledge within the families about what happened. And on the other side, we have no empirical data and findings and research, and often not any interest within the institutions about it. And then we have the situation that your research, and this is my then question, your research covers on the one hand the deportations to Auschwitz before February 1943. This group of Roma is often neglected because, well, the focus is on the so-called camp section 2BE, persons being deported on the basis of the Auschwitz decree. But there were a lot of other Romas right before in the camp, and there, well, when I looked up what we know about this group of Roma, it is all the knowledge from the 1990s, where very small publications showed that there were Roma. There are several photographs on the website of the Auschwitz Memorial, always the same, always the same. So no new knowledge was created within the last 30 years. That's a shame, I think. And on the other hand, you research on experience where usually we have definitely no sources about. For example, surviving in the woods, the informal help within the communities, the saving of children, for example, these orphans, and of course all these murders in the scope of these massacres against Roma in the woods and in the villages. So what do you think? How can you proceed further? How could you, is there any chance that you could generate more empirical data? Because for me as a historian, it's always important to combine both perspectives. On the one side, the knowledge of the survivors and the families, which is often quite informal, and on the other side, really empirical data and findings. So what is your perspective, Justina?
Thank you very much, Carola. You are so amazing, and I love your work, and you always encourage me to really, you always encourage me to research something that I'm thinking about, but I don't have courage to do. And this transports that I just recently researched, and the whole area of Carpathian region really encouraged me to research the number of Carpathian Roma in Auschwitz. However, the Księgi Pamięci, the list of the prisoners that I have, the names of Roma are often, there's like the whole list of Roma, and some of the names are missing. And according to my research from already from the testimonies and the knowledge of the Romani family, I think I have pretty good idea of the missing names that are not there, and they're not counted as the Romani victims. And I did reach to Auschwitz historian, but they said that I asked them if I can see the archival list, and I can help them to decode the names, because I have testimonies, and I know the names of the Roma who were taken from the particular settlements, Romani settlements, villages, but Auschwitz wasn't interested. So I think I will need to find some other way to do it, or maybe I'll just create the list by myself and then publish it and see what Auschwitz will do. But I definitely have idea on the two transports to Auschwitz from my region, the region of my family. I know my family names. I know who was killed. The Auschwitz database shows them, so they're there, but they're missing from the list. And I think I could do it. And that's my next step. I think that will be my next step after sending you the lemmas. That really bothers me, but I'm almost done. So that will be the thing. Several hundreds Roma are more than we thought they are. According to the newest research, the Auschwitz said that there are 220 Roma at least, but I found several hundreds. So, and they're all from my family, and the villages next to my family. And we were all pretty much, all the families that were together with us relocated to my town later, and we know like that their family members were also killed at Auschwitz. I did found them, and I know they were there. So the creating the list will be my next step to bring the justice for my members. Yes, Carola, I think you can.
Carola,
Stefan was first. Stefan was first. Please go.
Oh no, who was first?
You unmuted,
We
Stefan.
can't hear you, Stefan.
Mute. Okay. From my experience, the best thing, if you can document a few cases, you break the wall. So concentrate on a few cases that we can really prove, because then you really break the wall. Because I mean, how many Jews were registered in Auschwitz? Not as many as were killed. So really break the wall. If you can prove that, and if you can say they didn't survive, they were shipped there, this is the key work from my perspective. And I must say that knowing Poland and the genocide there quite well, on Carpathian Roma, there is absolutely nothing. There is absolutely nothing. So really, please do it.
Yeah, I will definitely. When I'm working on it right now, I have the spreadsheet, and I will. I think I will reach out one more time to Dr. Carola Finks, and now I would like to think about some strategy to publish it in some good place that it will be a respected source, and also it will. I want to like support my research by all the testimonies and data I have in order to prove the number of my people.
I think it's really, from my perspective, breaking the wall and having a few proven ones is better than trying to spread it too much. So concentrate on the ones where you really have the proofs. That would be my view.
Thank
Carola?
you. Thank you.
Yes, I think it's a good advice. I wanted to ask whether you see any chance to find material in the local archives, regional archives.
We have everything in the church books.
I
So
didn't
church
get
church books are the
church. No, but
yeah.
is there any material about the organizing of deportations, arrests, internments
Just
under German occupation?
Oh, where could I find it? Because I only have Księgi Pamięci and church books.
No,
And
so maybe just in the local archives. So the local archives in the region or in
because
this.
mostly the village administrators were sending, were allowing. There were those who organized the arrest and often collaborated. So yeah, so the local archives, I will write it down and do it. Thank you, Carola. Thank you, Lokar.
And also church registry. You may find the names of your family members in the church's registration
Yeah,
books.
so I already have that. And I have testimonies, and I have my the list, but I don't have the local archives, and I think that would be actually very good idea to find the documents from the local administrator. Thank you for that.
And Florence?
Yes, hi. Yeah, so you don't know me. It's the first time I come here to your seminars. So thank you for allowing me to listen. I'm ethnologist and coming from Södertörn University in Sweden. And I'm also working with, I have a little project where I help Roma activists to go back to their country of origin and to collect memories of Second World War. So that's why I was so interested in your approach. And I think you do a fantastic work, Justina, and I just want to say that. And I was also wondering, because I'm not an historian, so often I feel that when we are working with Second World War and the Roma and the genocide and so on, we are very, very focused on numbers. And I think that what would be, at least from my perspective, very interesting is to know how you are experiencing this work that you are doing in searching at your family past. And if you had also maybe the idea to interview other persons like you working with their own family history, and how because I think that's very interesting nowadays, since the testimony of a person who have gone through this horrible events died out, most of them. Of course, there is still some that have been kids during that period, but I think that it's very interesting to know how you, as a third generation, are dealing with this past. I think that would be something very interesting to know more about.
Well, thank you very much. It's great meeting you, and I also thank you for your work. I am actually one of few Romani scholars that deal with the genocide of Roma and Sinti, and it's really it is really heavy on me. All the Holocaust research I'm doing right now. I'm on the project on. I'm actually at the second fellowship at the Holocaust Museum in Washington D.C. And I'm trying to pursue more and more knowledge in the archives and find out more about my my history of my people. But it is very challenging, and it will be great definitely to interview or to talk to people dealing with the same research on their basis. I think it will be difficult to find more Roma dealing with the Holocaust, but maybe there are some other scholars with different backgrounds who deal with that. But it definitely would be something that I would be interesting to. And yeah, it's really challenging, but I'm trying to learn more. And then the story of my family, it's what inspires me to research more on the Roma and Sinti. And we know already a lot about the fate of Roma, especially in the Germany and Austria. But in case of occupied Poland and those territories, there is still a lot of unknown. There's still a lot of sites that we don't know. Mass shooting places. We still uncover more stories, and it's still a lot to do, and it's probably work for several scholars. But and I hope there will be more scholars, more Romani scholars with interest in that, and more scholars with the passion for that research, and that will be very beneficial for all of us to learn more about the genocide of Sinti and Roma. Thank you.
Thank you, Stina. And I just wanted to add that, Florence, we know you. That's why I added you to our email list.
We met before.
This information, yeah, and I think it's very important to connect us, and we have this wonderful opportunity. Justina is living on Hawaii, and you in Sweden. I'm in Canada. Carola in Germany, Stefan in Switzerland, and all world is here and can listen to Justina. Well, I want, before I will pass to Stefan, I wanted to add that how it's unfortunate that when we read about the names and deportations of the Jews in Yitzhak books, nobody questions that. But when it comes to Roma and Sinti and their names and family narratives, always there is a word that researchers have to prove. I mean, in comparison to the Holocaust, genocide of the Roma is not documented, almost not documented. And mainly all narratives and stories came from families. And here is the question of value and ethics. If really Romani scholars and next generations have to prove what happened to them, if it's the family history, and why we have such attitude in academia. Just the remark.
No, thank you, Anna. That's exactly what many of us think, and it is really unfair treatment of Romani scholars and also of the materials that we have. We operate with what we have, and the testimonies are a really valuable source of knowledge for many of us. Sometimes we don't have anything more, and the names often the same names, especially for the German Sinti, they're the same names of Jews. For example, the surname Adler, it's Romani name too, not only Jewish name. So, and also Reinhardt, yeah, like there are like so many things that
Weiss.
Yeah, Weiss too. Oh my God, there were many Weiss families in Poland of Roma.
Yeah,
so,
of course.
Yeah, it's really challenging, and nobody questions that.
But also there were intermarriages between Jews and Roma. It's what I discovered in Ukraine, and I'm sure that in Carpathian region more. And Stefan, yeah.
Yeah, especially in all the Russian and the Pale. So in the Ukrainian, Eastern Poland, and Russia, intermarriage between Jews and Russians Jews and Roma were absolutely common, and they are still common. So there are quite a few Jewish Roma, actually, from Moscow that I know who immigrated to Israel, but that's a different topic entirely. So what I want to say is we have to get out of the number game, because there were less Roma in any case in Eastern Europe than there were Jews, by far. I mean, Poland had the Poland of that time had the largest Jewish population as such, and the Roma population was much smaller. But at least 50% of the Roma population in Poland was wiped out. In Latvia also, in Estonia totally, in Czechia totally. So let's get out of the number game and let's show what the impact was of that, because the impact is that there's a generation missing, essentially. And I think we have to concentrate on that personally. That's my view, because otherwise we will never get on this game, because people will say, yeah, but there were only so and so many registered there, and yeah, but there are so and so many missing as such. And I think that's an argument we can't win.
Thank you, yeah, thank you for that. Yeah, so there is, of course, there is argument about the numbers, and probably we shouldn't, but we shouldn't be involved. But I also do not agree with the lowering the numbers of Roma, especially if we have proof that there were more victims, especially in the Auschwitz. And in my research, I don't know if you like, so in my research with this list of the transports, I just want to, they're like blank spaces. And I want to fill those blank spaces with the names of people who were in those transports. That's what my goal. Not, I don't want to prove the numbers. I want to fill those lists with with this real people, my ancestors, my family members who are there, but they're not listed.
Definitely, this is, the more you can prove, this raises the proven state. But I think getting out of the argument about where 1 million or 2 million or 500,000 or whatever, we have to get out of that, because the impact on the Roma society in Eastern Europe, in Poland, in Ukraine, in the Baltic states was immense. It killed a whole generation. And I think we have to concentrate on the impact. But that's my personal view. Carola, I think yours now.
Yeah, thank you. Yes, I just also wanted to focus a little bit more on the narratives we have to challenge. So, for example, we always say that no perpetrators were punished. In general, it's true, it was only a handful. But when it comes to Auschwitz, I think it's also important to say that Hearst was hanged in 1947 also because of his responsibility for the murder of the Sinti and Roma in Auschwitz. So, and to make sure perpetrators were murdered, maybe it didn't play, it was not in the first place that he was hanged because he took part in this, but in the end he did not survive, but of course thousands of others did.
Yes.
But what we still have to challenge until today, although Hearst was hanged, is his legacy. You know that the text in his so-called diary, his memoirs, is often used to describe the situation of Sinti and Roma in the camp. And I think this is something where we have to oppose and create new narratives. And of course, within the encyclopedia, I will write something about Hearst and this text, because I think it's very important to set new narratives against the perpetrators' perspectives. And I think, Justina, what you are doing is going in the same direction. But I strongly pledge for being accurate when it comes to numbers, and being accurate when it comes to describing one's people's history, So, and always make transparent where the knowledge comes from. And this, I think this is the only way to install reliable knowledge that can be spread to everyone. So I think this should be our aim. That's just my opinion. Yeah.
Thank you, Carol. I 100% agree with you. And every time you send me a text, I read it carefully. And I also think that I would like to collaborate with you more closely and take your advice. And also, I think I will be very happy to share with you before I publish it, because and take your feedback. It will be very useful as you are the leading researcher in this area.
Well, I'm not the only one. There are a lot also here in the room, but yes, of course, we have to collaborate.
Thank you very much.
I think the collaboration is exactly one purpose of this seminar, to be able to share some of the knowledge and among people. So I think. Yeah.
Are there any questions? If not, may I ask other questions? I have two questions precisely. I don't know if you have an answer, but I'm curious, what was actually the attitude of churches to Roma when the persecution started? Because I cannot find any information. My research is about Ukraine, but I cannot find any information that churches would protect Roma, even though they were quite religious in Ukraine. So it's the same situation with Carpathian Roma. And my second question is about contemporary situation. You attended a lot of commemorations. And what do you see, what is the changes? What are the changes during past years in those commemorations? And if local organizations, institutions, state institutions or academic or NGOs are interested in researching and receiving more knowledge about the genocide of Roma.
Thank you, Hannah. Yes, so in to answer your first question, I did not find anything about the church reactions. So, and I didn't look that much. I was looking at the church books to just see about like information about Roma who being like baptized and how many children they had and that basic information about my family members, but they did not look for the reactions. And to answer the second questions, we have a second question. We have a very active organizations in Poland. I would say the three main ones, and they're very, very much fighting for this memory of the Holocaust. So we are pretty much active, and there are many books in Polish about the experience of Roma. They might not be and they're on different areas of different camps, but there are Polish researchers who deal with that topic. So the knowledge is pretty much there, and also the Polish government is pretty much supportive in case of this commemoration, at least so far from the fall of communism and when we entered the European Union. All these Romani organizations have been very much active, and we are collaborating on many levels. But also in case of whenever there is a new site on or where there are like events that commemorate the Holocaust victims, they always invite the local Roma representatives, which is very good. I was kind of upset that I didn't see Roma people, Roma survivors speaking at the Auschwitz commemoration on Monday, but that was the one disappointment I had. But mostly, I myself was taking part of many commemoration in Poland, and it's always very respectful towards the Roma and Sinti victims.
Thank you so much, Justina. Some more questions or comments? If not, that maybe, I don't know, Justina, if you want to add something which you maybe didn't have time to tell us during your presentation.
Thank you very much. If you want to reach out, my email is all over internet. You can access the university page, and I'm also right now a current fellow at the USHMM. There is also my email there. And for all the students who are here, I noted your names, so you will receive the extra credit, 5 points. And thank you very much for coming. And for all of you who did not need the extra credit and still came, thank you very much. And it was a pleasure talking to you, and also getting your thoughts, your feedback. I did noted everything, and I'm hoping that I will publish my research soon, and I want to do more about my own family and my own group, because I know that this research is underrepresented, and I have to fulfill this mission. So thank you very much.
So thank you very much, Justina Palikarava. And really, I said there's very, very little that I've researched quite a bit on it, and there's absolutely very little on Karpatska Roma, and much more. Well, actually, there's not much more on Ruska and Polska Roma, but at least there is a bit more than on your side of things. So I think it's really important if you can document your own family and the cases really accurately. I think it's a wonderful, and it's also something to do for them.
Yeah, thank you so much, Justina. And I'm also happy that students are here, and I hope it was interesting for you to listen to this. And it's completely new. Very rarely, actually, during courses, at least in my experience, and I was teaching in the UK, in Sweden, Ukraine, Russia, and now in Canada, I almost don't see anything about the genocide of Roma and Sinti. This topic is simply not raised, not topic of interest or discussion. And I have to undertake your approach, Justina, with the students, because now I'm teaching the Second World War, and next week, actually, we talk about genocide of Roma and Sinti. So I will recommend to watch the video and your talk. And yeah, the credits point are good. Now I know how to engage students more. And I'm very happy to announce that our next lecture or talk or seminar, whatever, will be in the end of February, again Wednesday, and will be February 26th. And we will have Carpathian Roma, Romni, Miriam Karoli, who is also an activist, and we'll talk about her experience and approach. And what is very important here in this series of lectures, that we really try to engage activists and academics of Romani origin. And I think it's very important because there are so few in the world that we have to support and give the voice, because basically you are the holder of history and narratives. And I think it's very important. And particularly, I'm happy that we have Romani women, because again, in the academic world, there are only few women who research this topic and generally become academics. So we will have our lecture on February 26th at 7 p.m. Central European time. And I had to move a little bit our time to a later one, just because exactly on Wednesdays I am teaching. And also, I think for many people, it's more comfortable to attend in later hours. So we will see how it will work. And thank you so much, everyone. And Stefan, if you want to add something.
One little note is effectively, the seminars are held on the last Wednesday of each month during the academic year. So if you want to join, send us an email and we'll keep you posted on the invitations. It's every Wednesday, last Wednesday of the month.
And for the students, if you want to join, you can send me your email and I will include you in the mail list. And Justina knows my email, so you can contact Justina and then we cooperate. And thank you so much again, Justina, and everyone for the participation, comments, and questions. Have a nice evening or day.
Yeah.
Bye.